two, to just let the people, there are still people joining the webinar, but basically I think we are good to go and can start the recording. Okay, so welcome to everyone. So I'm very happy that so many people joined these Q4 2020 EMEA partner update webcast, and it's quite nice so that we are now talk a little bit about what's new, what we did about a couple of promotions. So I will just go through the agenda. So we'll just do a little short introduction of the team EMEA. We will then hand over to Rebecca Winkle, our Salesforce administrator, who will go through a partner portal live demo. Then we have a technical update, which is done by our systems engineer, William van Kollenberg. And the promotions part is done by myself. So my name is Thorsten. I'm the regional sales manager for the DACH and Eastern European region at Scale Computing. As far as you know, everybody knows Scale Computing. We are a US-based company in Indianapolis, headquartered in EMEA, based in the Netherlands. From my point of view, I don't need to go in details about Scale because everybody of you is a Scale partner, and I'm pretty sure you all know who we are because we are partners. So the team EMEA, we are a small team. So we are led by Johan Pelikan, who is our VP of EMEA. He's based in the Netherlands. Ian Smith is Technical and Alliance Director of EMEA. So he's managing the technical team, which is for here on the slide, William van Kollenberg. In our office in the Netherlands, you will find Semi Okanovic as our account development representative and Bianca van Schindel as our HR officer and finance manager of EMEA. On the left side, the sales team, that's Chris Carlson, our colleague in UK and Ireland, Rick Rentrop, Benelux, Nordics, France, and Jaco Delport, he's the regional sales manager for Middle East and Africa. And myself, I'm the, as I said before, the regional sales manager for Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Eastern Europe. So you will get the slides. So whenever you have something, please contact your preferred Scale team member. And that's good for now. I will hand over to Rebecca. I'm more than happy that Rebecca is now joining us here from the US. So you have already the ball. The stage is yours. Rebecca, you are muted. You're maybe talking to yourself.
There we go. Thanks for the heads up. And thanks everybody for joining us today. I just want to take some time today to guide everybody through some key areas of the partner portal to help you navigate it more easily in the future. So I'm going to play a short demo video that kind of walks through everything, and then we can answer any questions you have after that. Screen share.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Rebecca, but there's no audio coming through.
Sorry about that, guys. It's not playing. All right. Well, maybe we won't play a video. All right. Well, Thurston, did you want to take it over for just a little bit so I can get the live stuff up and here in a bit?
Yeah, for sure. I can try to do the live demo, or maybe not really the live demo, but I can show the partner portal.
Yeah, let me just get it pulled up here.
Can also use William as a presenter, so he's also ready.
Let me quickly jump in then. So there we go. So as discussed, hi, again, my name is William David Kollenberg. I'm a system engineer at the EMEA region. And actually, I think that from a lot of the people that I see here in the call, I might have spoken to most of you. So I have a quick product update on things that are currently released. So a couple of you have been partners, a lot of you actually have been partners with us for quite a while now. And we thought it was time to give you an update on everything that is in the product right now and to get a good collection. Also, tomorrow this presentation will be sent out so that you have all these features for your own presentation decks. And most of these features can also be found in the partner portal. My short agenda, and it looks like a lot, but it's actually not that much, is I'm going to do a update on everything that is in Hypercore 8.8. That's the current general available release. We're going to talk about the introduction of the 3000 series. Obviously, a lot of you, we've already spoken about this, but thought it would be interesting to do a recap on that one, as it's still fairly new. The HE series have been around for a while, but actually 8.8 is the first release that really supports the HE100 series. So that one in main focus and a little bit focus on Edge. And then the long-awaited Acronis agentless backup and Acronis backup cloud. I think this is a feature that many of you have been waiting for. So without further ado, Hypercore 8.8, currently 8.8.15 is in unrestricted availability. Things that this introduces is the use of the REST API. It introduces independent retention, so you can have shorter or longer local retention and shorter or longer retention at your replication site. We introduced the storage only mode. And obviously, like I just said, in 8.8, official support for the HE150s is introduced. Starting out with our API, a long-standing request by a lot of people is, please give me alternative ways to do things, and please give me a way to script things that I want to do within my environment. In the older days, we did already have a Thrift API that was accessible through a Windows executable written by one of my colleagues. But this was a very slow process, and this is it was not really a up-to-speed and enterprise-ready solution. And I think that with the introduction of the REST API, we have an enterprise-ready and capable mechanisms. Examples of things that you can do with your API is obviously you can automate VM actions, so creating virtual machines, changing virtual machines. You can integrate this with existing tools, so this could be integrated into your own environment, but this in your own web tools. But this could, for example, also be integrated with Splunk for monitoring. Splunk has a mechanism to read JSON data, so it can take this out. You can orchestrate data protection. So a couple of our customers have been working in terms of data protection with exports to NAS. Others have been working with replication to other sites. One of the nicer examples of things that you could do with the REST API is replicate to an offsite scale cluster, and on that offsite cluster, clone and export that replica to a NAS, just as an example. The other nice thing, and that's actually the picture that we're seeing in this slide, we have built in all the documentation for the REST API. So in your cluster, when you go to settings, you have the possibility to enable or disable the API and a link to the REST API browser, which is what you see over here. And these are all examples of things that you can do. You can click on it and even try them out in the GUI. So basically, you go to https:// your cluster IP or name, and then /rest/v1 and /docs, and you get that documentation. Now, as a small example of things what you can do with that, I have a demo cluster that in the past I had some temperature issues with it, so I wanted to monitor the temperatures, and one of the nice indicators of temperatures in my systems are the disk temperatures. So I created a script that does this for me, and this script every minute gives me the disk temperatures of every node, and it gives me the VMs that are currently running with their IP addresses and which VLANs they are in. So a lot of times we were asked to give more information. This REST API is your portal to all the nice nitty-gritty, deep technical detail information of a skill cluster. Second one that I wanted to discuss with you, as it was in the slides, was we can now separate local snapshot retention from remote retention. So obviously, snapshots take space, and in your production environment, you might have less space, or you might have other requirements, or you might want to save some space up for other workloads in your local environment. And the separation of the retention for remote sites allows us to actually have larger historical repositories remote than we have local. So recent snapshots, you keep them local for quick recovery. Less recent snapshots, you keep them remote for retention purposes. Storage only mode is also, I think, a very big one, and this one might actually be bigger than all of the previous ones. One of the things that we quite often heard from you, our partners, is that you are struggling with Microsoft licensing. So in a clustered environment, as all of you know, you need to license every node that can possibly run Windows workloads. So we always have a minimum of 3 nodes in a cluster, which requires you to license all 3 of these nodes with, for example, data center licenses. What we've now done is we've created a way to disable the virtualization capabilities, but maintain the storage capabilities. In other words, in the picture that you see over here in the slide, I have 3 nodes, of which 2 of them have the virtualization role enabled, and 1 of them has the virtualization role disabled. This means that I can still keep my 3-node configuration for storage and keep my redundancy in line, and I also still can perform my rolling upgrades as I want, and I would always have enough resources there. So as an example, what you can do there, a lot of you are already aware of our mix and match functionality, so that we can mix and match different types of nodes in a single cluster. That's one of the things, exact things that we've done here. So over here you see a HE150 configuration with 2 nodes with 16 gigs RAM, 16 gigs of RAM, and 6-core i7 CPUs with a terabyte of NVMe. You see 3 of them, but the third one is actually only has a 2-core i3, only has 8 gigs of RAM, and still has that same 1 terabyte of NVMe. So this one fully participates in storage, but is not equipped to run your VMs. In this way, reducing the amount of Microsoft licensing that you need. And this could be Microsoft server licensing. This could be this could be Microsoft licensing. This could be Microsoft SQL licensing. This could be Oracle licensing, etc. As long as you make it in such a way that that particular VM cannot run on that node, you are good. So the HE3000 platform is our all NVMe system, and the transition to NVMe within the market is actually amazing. I'm pretty amazed in how quickly the cost of NVMe is coming down and how quickly the capacity of NVMe is coming down. And if you're looking at how that went between SSD and HDD in the past, so starting with SSDs in 2012, right now you see that SSD is almost equally as much used as HDD. And if we take a look at consumer devices right now, most of the consumer devices are already fully equipped with NVMe drives. So we're seeing an even quicker pickup on NVMe than we did see on SSD. The 3000 series, for those of you who don't already know, is basically the same as the 1000 series, but then a all NVMe. Obviously, there are some restrictions. Right now, an NVMe node cannot be used in a hybrid or all-flash cluster, but work is being done on that. So if we take a quick look at the appliances that we have right now, we see the HE100 and the HE500 in the edge segment. So these are systems meant for either very small environments or edge environments. Think about retail environments, think about robo locations, or also think about if you are a MSP having smaller clusters locally at your customer site, which are replicating to your larger site for disaster recovery as a service or backup services. Moving on to the 1000 series, folks, so the small to medium large data center, fully capable systems, able to equip them with up to 1.5 terabytes of RAM and the latest generation of systems. Then going one up, the HC3000 and the HC5000, the 3000, the all NVMe, and the HC5000 with larger disk capacities targeted at the larger data centers. And in the end, but that's one that we all already know, the HC3 Cloud Unity environments. Small bit of road mapping, or actually something that we're also already doing, but which will, as an active feature, come in the 8.9 update, will be that the HE1000 and the HE5000 will also be equipped with GPUs if you desire so. But more on that in our next session. So positioning the 3250 versus the 1250D or the 1250DF, so the all-flash one. If you take a price-for-price comparison, you could actually create exactly the same configuration or a comparable configuration with the 3250DF and the 1250DF with more disk space. So we can double the disk space in this system, and with an upgraded CPU family, we can actually go about 20% higher in core count. And last but not least, in the 3000 series, we also have a 25 gig SFP possibility. So also faster network cards, network options, but obviously with faster disks come faster IO options. What drives the need for edge computing? First one is data explosion. The data explosion is where we mean there's too much data, and although network connections are rapidly growing, a lot of networks are still bandwidth and cost constrained. Together with our EMEA VP Johan Pelikaan, we are now often talking to shipping companies, discussing the possibilities for replication, for onboard clusters and stuff like that. And one of the key subjects that keeps coming up in those discussions is on land, it is fine that you have all the bandwidth in the world, but in the shipping industry, we don't have enough bandwidth. And the other one, in the data explosion, you can't offload everything to cloud because whether you make it a long story or a short story, connecting to the cloud will always take longer than connecting to a local data center. The other one is resiliency. We just talked about the cloud, and we just talked about these shipping companies. If you're thinking about resiliency, if you're thinking about a small piece of kit in a remote location that always needs to keep working, you can't rely on internet connections. Even though internet connections nowadays are down for maybe 2 or 3 days a year, if this is a very critical part of your organization, it cannot go down. Good example here are the electricity and water companies that in many countries actually have been mandated by the government that they need to have a 100% uptime of their utilities. So making them dependent on network lines might not always be the best option. And that's another one where you absolutely require resiliency. And that comes from a resiliency standpoint, that comes from a latency standpoint, and that comes to a regulation standpoint. Actually, I gave away most of this slide already, so I'm not going to talk too much on it. Around 10% of enterprise generated data is created and processed outside of the data center or cloud. What exactly does this mean? This means that the way that data is being processed is that not every bit of data is being copied to a local data center, then being processed and then being sent back. Because of all the reasons that we were just talking about, it would be hard to keep track of that process because of all these regulations. It would be hard to keep that data line online forever. Compare it to the autopilot function of a Tesla. You don't want your Tesla to have to ask the cloud whether or not it should brake in case of an object in front of you. You want this data to be processed locally. Another thing that we quite often see in edge configurations, and especially when we're looking at our competitors, is the weight of the solution, if that makes sense to you. So one of the things that we often see is, one of the things that we saw with one of the larger projects that we were working at is that a company might need to run 2 or 3 small VMs at one of their edge locations. If you have one of those other operating system platforms or other hyper-converged platforms that require a minimum of 24 gig of RAM in a system just to run that solution, That means you only have 40 gigs of RAM free for those small VMs. So the smaller you can keep your footprint as an HCI player, the better you play in those edge cases. So a very cool example here is, it's nice when you're talking about 46 gig RAM systems where you still have 40 gig of RAM left, which means that you can run six gigabyte systems. But if you're talking about smaller environments, think about SCADA environments, think about environments where you have just one or two very small VMs, you could even do with a system of 16 gigs of RAM, whereas our closest competitor cannot even supply a system with just 16 gigs of RAM. The pricing I'm going to leave to Torsten at a later moment because he has some nice additional things to tell there about. So what are the target use cases? For the HE150, 1 or 2, maybe 4 or 5 on-prem workloads. For example, where they already have an existing single server, going from an existing single server to an HE150 cluster could help those customers to create high availability on-prem, where they need to have that workload on-prem and where they're looking to consolidate different workloads into a single system. Think about CCTV, think about customer loyalty programs, think about point of sale systems. And obviously the HE150 is mainly targeted at customers that have 10 to 100, 10 to multiple hundred of local sites. The HE500 target use cases is where they right now have the traditional setups, 321s or SAN Fabric server solutions with 2 nodes with running 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 20 virtual machines, where they want to have HA, where local backups and local HA is still very important, and where cost is important. And one of the main things, one of the main things here is little to no remote IT expertise. So if you have these at your edge locations, you would be able to remotely answer them. I see a couple of questions coming in, which I will address at the end, but I will address them, so don't worry. So again here, the rest of the platform, I will leave that as it is. They are in there. And then last but not least, in my section, the Acronis agentless and Acronis backup cloud. So Acronis agentless backups is exactly what it says. It allows a Acronis environment to connect to a scale 8.8 or higher cluster and allows you to do backups without installing an agent on the virtual machine. It utilizes our native snapshot technology, so it utilizes the scale snapshot technologies. So even for quiescing and using VSS engines, all you require in your VM are the scale guest tools. And the deployment is extremely easy, but I think that for the deployment of such a solution, maybe contact your respective account managers and arrange a demo for yourself. Acronis Backup Cloud. Acronis as a solution supports many backup targets. So Acronis actually has support for traditional tape drives. Acronis has support for file shares. Acronis has support for most of your older and maybe written off SANs that you can still use for backup to disk. However, Acronis also has their own backup cloud. And their own backup cloud means that you can use a Acronis managed storage tier to push your backups and make them available to you from anywhere in the world. Not only does this your on-prem and off-prem, not only does this your on-premise backup, but this also includes the possibility to do Office 365 and G Suite backups with the same application. So the questions that we already received, but feel free to enter your questions in the QA window in the WebEx event. The first one is, when can we expect to see VXLAN in the API? VXLAN is still on the roadmap, and that development has not been finished yet, so we cannot answer that question until the VXLAN part is being released. Right now, I do not have a timeline, but feel free to contact your account manager and set up a discussion about that with us. And the second one is, what's the difference in functionality of Cloud Unity and Edge? That is the beauty of it, nothing. Cloud Unity is a skill cluster that runs in Google Cloud Platform, and Edge are smaller clusters that run locally. And if you per se want to have a difference, because Google Cloud Platform is already redundant, it looks like a single node, whereas Edge clusters look as multiple nodes. But in terms of functionality, they have absolutely no difference. VMs run in exactly the same way in our cloud environment as they do in on an Edge or on a enterprise system. Let me quickly check if there's any other questions right now. I think that was it. Jillian, can you confirm that that was the... Okay, can we... how can we use our on-premise server, and what are different types of licenses supported server hardware? So we sell appliances, which means that we do not have separate software. Obviously, on top of the appliances that we sell, or there is a cost to the use of the software on that appliance, and there are support contracts for 1, 3, or 5 years, but we sell appliances. So there's no different type of licensing. Every single skill system does, at least at the moment of speaking, everything that a skill system does. So things like replication, things like snapshotting, things like deduplication, all those nice features that you know from a skill system are built into the HyperCore OS and are functional. We do not have separate licenses for that. Supported server hardwares ranges from, like I said, the smallest systems with 16 or less gigs of RAM in it, all the way up to systems that can carry 1.5 terabytes of RAM and in a cluster somewhere around 1.x petabyte of storage. I think those were all of the questions, and I'm kind of assuming that that means that we are ready to move back to Rebecca. Sorry, Rebecca, are you there?
Hello, thank you. Sorry for all the difficulties. I'm going to try this one more time. All right, so still did not work. So we're going to start off with going through what your navigation options are and what those things mean. And then we're going to jump on over to the portal itself and kind of dig into some of those areas a little bit deeper. So going again here. Under the Deals tab, you'll find links to view your deal dashboard. There's also a link to deal or register a new deal. Under the marketing tab, that's where you're going to go for things like partner communications. There are links to view webinars, some case studies, and the whole library of documentation that can be co-branded and downloaded. If you're needing to view or create a support case, you can access that link under the support tab. This is also where you would find a link to knowledge documents with technical articles. Your entitlement, cluster, and shipment information can be found under the My Scale tab. Similarly, your end user account information can be found under the My Customers tab. And lastly, the training tab will provide you access to the training modules. This is also where you would go to view your completed trainings. Let's head here. All right, so up here are the navigation items that we just talked about. You can also view your opportunities and register them. And then you also have access to marketing content, some webinars, and case studies. On the deal review, on the deal dashboard, it's where you can view your opportunities based on status. There's also the option to register a new opportunity. To register a new opportunity, you simply fill out the required fields and submit the form. The asset library here. Find all the available documentation to co-brand and download. Filter by category like case studies, graphics, videos. You can filter by file type. You can also filter by language. There's a toggle that shows only co-branded documents. And the stamp band icon on a document indicates something that's available to be co-branded. So once you click on the stamp, a page loads, and that will allow you to upload your company logo. You can preview, you can save, or you can download this now co-branded document. The other icon that is on the documents, the plus sign, that allows you to add documents to playbooks. It is similar to a file folder. So this allows you to organize and group content in a way that works for you to easily find and manage documents for future use. You can have multiple playbooks. You can use the same document in multiple playbooks. You can't, however, add co-branded documents to the playbooks. You would want to save or download those files on the co-branding page. On the case page, this is where you would find a list of all these support cases under your account. There's also a button to open a support case. If you have a professional service that needs to be scheduled, you'll see that button next to the case, and that would direct you to. You also have a list of your customers' support cases and the ability to open up a case on behalf of them. Our base of technical articles is available for you to search and find helpful information. You can search by category on the left side pane here. You can enter keywords into the search bar. You could also select an article type, such as technical or software releases. Search results provide a summary of each article. And then clicking into the details, you would find more information about the issue, as well as any attached files that can be downloaded. The My Customers landing page is a full list of your customer accounts. You have the option to export this list with the button. And then clicking into an account will then provide you with options to view that customer's assets entitlements, clusters, and shipments. The training tab contains both completed and available training sessions. So you can use the drop-down status to filter by completed or in progress. Before you start a training session, you can view the courses that are contained within that training session, or you could just hit the start button and begin. You'll also see here that this is a completed module, and all I can do here is review. Right. That is the end of the walkthrough. Sorry for all the dits. But feel free to put any questions into the Q&A there, and we will make sure to get them answered.
Thank you very much. So I will take over, please. Okay, I have them all. Just a second. Share. I will share my screen again, and we will have a few minutes left. I will talk about the promos, which are right now running here in Q4. First promotion I will talk about is the HE150 partner promo. So maybe you know that already. So we do have these since a couple of weeks already. So if you do a sales and a technical certification training, you are able to get your own scale HE150 cluster for quite a less amount of money. And there is an addition which is now valid for Q4 for these HE150 partner promo. So you need to buy the HE150 partner promo as usual. You will find here some examples of the pricing. That's the US-based pricing. Please ask your regional sales manager for your regional pricing. So maybe in euro, maybe in GB pound. And if you are able, so you need to get certified, as I said before, and you will get a rebate for your HE150 first partner promo cluster when you are able to sell an HC series cluster after the HE150 partner promo, which means at the end, your HE150 cluster is more or less for free. As William said before, so you can do very strange things at all with the HE150 cluster. So you don't think that these small, nice systems are really powerful, but they are. So you, for example, you can run around about 25 VDI concurrent users on a 3-node HE150 cluster, as you can see here on the right-hand side. And they are also very good to use in video surveillance things. So can support up to 50 milestone security cameras, and don't want to go about too much in the details about how many CPU load and stuff, but you can read that by your own. The thing what I wanted to say is use it, use the promo. That's a quite nice promo at all. We use these in all over the world, so that's valid all over by scale. Just talk to your scale regional sales manager about any details if you need to know anything. There's another promo around, maybe you've seen that in LinkedIn or Facebook or all the social media, the so-called HC150 Edge trial promotion. So which means you can, if you are valid for that, meaning you are already a partner, you have already your HE150 kit, then you are able to go with your customers for an HC3 Edge free trial. You can go through the website. You see the URL here, but talk to your regional sales manager for details that we can go together through the Edge portal, because that's something what's always valid. Talk to us. We are helping you wherever we can. We can give you pricing support, pre-sales support, sales support, whatever you needed, please talk to us. Last but not least, our more or less newest promotion, we do have a Q4 backup appliance promo, which means you need to buy a scale appliance and combine it with Acronis licenses, and you can run Acronis on top and recover your virtual machines to a backup appliance. There is a special pricing around, so I don't want to go in detail because William already explained how the stuff is working. So there are 6 different systems which have a special pricing. So depending on the size, so we have based on the HC1200 series or based on the HC5200 series, a couple of systems with different CPUs, different amount of memory, different capacity. So it's starting around up for 24 terabyte usable storage. The black price here you see is the estimated end user price, and the red price is the estimated reseller price. And I would like to say that's also, so just to complete, the support and maintenance extension for 3 or 5 years is, as always, 22% for 3 and 40% for 5 years, about the list price. And there's one requirement: you need to buy a scale cluster and include their minimum 3 Acronis backup licenses. Then you are able to participate in these, from my point of view, very nice backup promotion. So for that, we are in that very price range where you will find just a simple NAS system, maybe a scale system with, for example, 96 usable storage for around about 11,000 euro or 10,000 pound or 13,000 US dollars. You need to pay for a NAS system at minimum the same or more. So we're more or less finished now. I will say, from my point of view, thank you very much for your patience for joining the webinar. Are there some more questions in the Q&A section of?
Other questions have come through, Torsten, so I think we're all set.
So it looks like there are no more questions. So as I said, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you everybody for presenting, and I'm happy to talk to you all soon. Thank you. Bye.